Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I look at the 1997-98 Topps basketball set. And that also includes Topps Chrome, because at this point, you can't talk about Topps without talking about Topps Chrome, because it's basically just a parallel of the main set. Almost entirely, and that is actually a good reason to talk about both of them at the same time. But it does actually play into the design of these cards a little bit, because in 1996, when they kicked off their Topps Chrome set, the Topps cards had been designed a little bit differently probably in order to capture the Topps Chrome, make sure that it comes across really well. I expect that's the case, although I don't have any proof, but I can tell you that the 1997 design is very similar to the 96 design, at least here in basketball, where they still have the white border, which works perfectly for Topps Chrome. Down at the bottom, they simplified the design theme to have just a band with copper foil text for the player name. And then running up the side, they have a see-through band of team color, which allows the cards to have a team theme when you put the cards together. It gives a little hint of the spirit of the NBA to these cards. But otherwise, these cards were designed perfectly to fully capture the whole spirit of Topps Chrome beautifully, which we'll see in just a second. But in the Topps set itself, they did have a parallel which followed along with the previous year's Topps 50 set. In this case, it is their Minted in Springfield cards, which has a copper foil logo of the NBA's Hall of Fame that is printed onto each one of these cards. So that means that for collectors just collecting regular Topps packs, there is a parallel set for all of the cards in the set. But like I said, Topps Chrome, there is a little bit of a difference. Now, the cards themselves come across the same. The cards just have a finest approach to the cards where like I said, the white is replaced with silver, but everything has the silver finish to it. There's no foil on the cards. So the gold foil Topps logo, that's gone. Copper foil logo, text, that's gone. The Topps logo is replaced by Topps Chrome. And that's about all that there is to talk about, except for the fact they do have all the little ridges that they like to put into finest cards. The Topps Chrome cards have them, which gives that jewel-like quality that really helps to enunciate the cards. Obviously, every one of these cards also comes with a refractor parallel. But I mentioned that there's a little bit of a difference between the sets, and that's because when Topps, starting in 1996, what they decided to do was to sell a lot of inserts. They were finally getting around to it. And the idea was people were going to rip through packs like crazy getting the inserts, so that means you don't need a big set. So they turned the card set into a 110 card set for Series 1 and a 110 card set in Series 2. They'd sell way more of those cards than they needed to bother with because people were chasing the inserts. Basic math, simple idea. But that doesn't work with Topps Chrome because Topps Chrome packs are already expensive. So why in the world are people going to be spending extra money to get all these extra cards? Because the Topps Chrome cards are the whole point. Yeah, you have some inserts, but the Topps Chrome cards are the whole point. So for Topps Chrome, they released it as just a single 220 card set. Every single card in the set was replicated exactly. Except not quite, because when they released their the regular Topps packs, there were so many inserts that their checklist card at 110 is the front of it is the regular set, and then the back of it is just covered with inserts. Well, they didn't have that many inserts in Topps Chrome, so all that real estate is useless. So instead, they flipped it around so that on the back of the card, it has the 110 card checklist for the first half of the set. But on the front, they created a card dedicated to Karl Malone winning the MVP. And look, great idea. Works perfectly. So for the Series 2 checklist for the regular cards, in Topps Chrome, where there was no Series 2, card 220 is Defensive Player of the Year, Dikembe Mutombo on the front, and then on the back, it's cards numbered 111 through 220. Great. But like I said, Topps Chrome did have some inserts, so you may as well make a checklist for that. But that means now you got to take some card from the set and replace it. Well, somewhat fortunately, that conundrum was solved when a Mr. Latrell Sprewell voiced his displeasure with his coach, a Mr. PJ Carlesimo. and Latrell Sprewell liked to talk with his hands, and the conversation involved his hands and PJ Carlesimo's neck. Well, that kind of tanked the stock of Latrell Sprewell's marketability, at least in cards. So for Topps, when they were making Topps Chrome, there was no reason to bother with making a Latrell Sprewell card, so they replaced his card with a checklist card for the inserts, where on the card front it is celebrating the NBA champion Chicago Bulls. Great, now we have all three checklists. So those three cards are different, and only the Sprewell to checklist card is literally completely different. Otherwise, all the other 217 cards are identical between the two releases. But like I said, Topps was really moving into the world of inserts. They wanted to put that focus on, and there are a lot of inserts to talk about, starting with autographs. Now, Topps had done almost no autographs up until this point, so this was kind of new territory. And look, basically everybody else had done autographs at this point. I don't know what had limited Topps' effort to get involved in autographs in any significant level. So it looks by this card like they were really spending their time trying to focus on making a great design, or at least by the time they got around to it, they made it worth our while. Really nice looking autograph cards. They also continued their tradition of doing draft pick redemption cards. So they have an entire card set of redemption cards where every single draft pick in the first round has a corresponding draft redemption card. And if you sent the redemption card in, the card you got back was a chromed surface card. Now I need to make a distinction, which is when I say chromed, I'm talking about a foil surface. When you talk about Topps Chrome, I like to refer to that as finest technology or Topps Chrome. So when I say chromed, I'm talking about a foil surface card, which is basically unadorned, and that's what these cards are. Pretty lackadaisical, kind of weird to see a card number on the front, but the card number is the draft pick number, so, that's just kind of how it works. And then moving on to the rest of the inserts, they did have some fun with some different opportunities. Starting with Bound for Glory, which is an extra thick card. This is a very firm card, and the card is almost entirely a holofoil effect, a rainbow holofoil over kind of a temple-like design. Only the player is different from this, and so that means that the player can oftentimes get overpowered by the backdrop. Pretty cool card nonetheless, but you can see Topps kind of playing around with some of these designs. They also have Clutch Time, and for Clutch Time, this is a shot clock themed card, which, we have another chromed surface card. And in this case, this is a card I really wish was multifaceted, because when you just chrome the surface of a card, everything kind of runs together. And you look at that shot clock theme at the top, and you really wish that there was a multi-dimensional quality to how the card was constructed, so that it glowed in a different way. It didn't, which is, that's kind of the way that they went. But this is still a very interesting card to see how a single material choice affects the overall design of the card. They also did a card called Destiny. And Destiny is another chromed surface card, but in this case, they played around with it a little bit, so there's actual embossing, so that the text for Destiny up at the top actually extrudes out. It's three-dimensional, and there's a little bit of that with the design theme down at the bottom as well. So the card has, it comes across as a really cool, fancy card, primarily because it's using the relief to add a different type of spectral effect to the way that the card looks. And these cards are the first set that was also done in Topps Chrome. So that means that every single one of the cards in the set also has a Topps Chrome version, as well as a refractor version of the card. So the whole set, every single player has 3 versions of each card. Then they have Fantastic 15. And Fantastic 15 isn't even a chrome surface. This is a mirror surface. This is a card that much of the time looks fine until the light hits just right, and then you can't see a thing on this card. I've never understood why anybody does this, and this is not the only time Topps would do this. It is a card that is very distinct simply because when its distinction stands out, it completely blinds you. It's a choice. Then they have Generations, and Generations, okay, here I've got to make a distinction because these cards were released in Topps packs, not in Topps Chrome, in Topps. And so I'm going to emphasize that these cards are like finest cards. And they literally are. They have more of the detailing that you are used to seeing in Topps finest cards as opposed to Topps Chrome. But these are done in Topps packs specifically. And the approach is really, this is a card that does a great job of capturing what Topps finest, the technology, what it's able to do. The die cutting at the top is really cool. There's a wonderful jewel-like quality to the way that the colors come through. And you'll notice that there's a theme which is built around years. Well, that's the way that the card set is designed. It's looking at the last 15 years of draft picks broken into 3 5-year blocks of time, so you can see stars from each one of these periods. And so each one of the cards, they have the first group of 3 years or of 5 years, and then the second group, third group, and then they also have different colors for each one of the different themes, allowing this card set to have a cohesive feel to each different group, so you do get that generational feel. And these cards also do come as a refractor as well. Very hard to get, but they do come that way. Then they have their Inside Stuff Top 10, and this is looking at top 10 plays of or top 10 moments of the year. Now, Inside Stuff is interesting with Topps because that's something that used to happen with NBA Hoops and with Fleer. Not really with Topps, but here they were bringing it in and bringing out some flashy moments in the history of the NBA to really highlight some awesome events. And these cards are chromed across the entire surface. They do have a cool effect where the background is kind of bronzed in a way, so the player and anybody attached to the player comes out as standing out from the rest of the background, but still the chromed surface of the card is still kind of overpowering. Still an interesting idea. And then, just in case you're getting tired of all this chrome surfacing, we'll move over to New School, where this is just a speckly masterwork of way too much in just the right way. The speckly quality of the card is overly dominant, and yet much of the time it just kind of parks and gets in the background. And the way that interplay works is a lot of fun. Plus, it works well with a vibrant, fun, youthful kind of design for these young players. So this is a really cool set. But let's go back to some chroming with Rockstars. And so Rockstars are approached the same way as the Generations cards. These are Topps released cards, not released in Chrome, just in Topps. And the cards also have die cutting up at the top where they have a rock theme. So they have like 3 or 4 rocks up at the top. That's where the die cutting goes around them. Now, unlike Generations, where the whole surface of the card was designed as a special design for the card, in this case they actually do have the background behind the player, even though it fades out at the edge. So there's a design theme as well as the background, as well as the intricacy of the Topps finest technology, all of that stuff. This is a pretty cool card. Likewise, these all come with refractors as well. And then we get to Season's Best. Now, Season's Best is a tradition that they've been doing for a couple of years. This is a case where they have 5 different categories, and each individual category has its own theme. As you can tell, these are speckly cards like the New School cards, very powerful. The background is very dominant in the whole theme that they build behind each of the players. These cards were also released in Topps Chrome as well. So you get 3 different versions of each card. You get the regular Topps card, you get the Chrome card, and then you get the Chrome refractor card as well. So so each player, all 30 cards in the set, there are 3 versions of each card. But the themes are all very distinct across all 5 categories, where the themes are Pressure Points, Shooting Stars, Encore Power, Keymaster, and Hot Shots. So those are the 5 different themes, and each one of the 6 cards in that group has the exact same background. So it's a very clearly themed series of cards. And then the last insert set they have is called Topps 40. Now this kind of piggybacks onto the Topps all 50 NBA players from the previous year. In this case, they wanted to look at the top 40 players in the NBA. And so this card set it comes in all 3 versions. So there is the regular Topps version, there's the Topps Chrome, and there's the Topps Chrome Refractor. So all 40 players come in all different versions. And you might have picked up by now that the Topps Chrome cards do have a tendency to age poorly as finest cards often were subject to doing during this period. But that closes out the 1997-98 Topps basketball release. The card set, there's a lot of complexity to the set, but they were really kind of refining it into a release where everything in the set actually everything in the release kind of fits into the overall. It feels pretty well constructed, whereas in previous years it was more scattershot. And I like that quality about the 1997 set. Now in 1998, they clearly had a template set in place so they could just kind of pick right up and continue on, which I'll be looking at in a separate video. Now, if you haven't seen the 1996 video, definitely go back and check that out. And on top of that, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I do urge you to do so. And so, yeah, I guess that brings it all to a close. So, well, yeah, thank you very much for watching.